He begins with a whisper, a question that pierces deeper than comfort. What if you are not who you think you are? The words hang heavy, almost intrusive, for the entire structure of his life has been built on that single assumption, that the voice inside his head is him, that the name he answers to is the truth, that the mask he wears is his only face. But tonight, the foundation shakes. The ordinary certainty of I begins to tremble. For what he calls himself is nothing more than a story, a mask carefully stitched together from childhood memories, from borrowed expectations, from fears too fragile to face directly. And yet, behind the mask, something waits, something vast, timeless, unfamiliar, and terrifying in its intimacy. He looks at the numbers again. The balance is red. The debt grows like a shadow that never sleeps. Every ring of the phone, every unopened letter feels like a reminder. You owe, you failed, you are trapped. But then, Neville Goddard steps in with a shocking claim. He says, your debt is not real, it is only imagination. Sustained. The audience is stunned. How can this be? The credit card statement looks real. The calls from collectors sound real. The shame in the heart feels too real. And yet, Neville insists, the mind is the only reality. What one holds within imagination is the only truth that has power. This is where the journey begins. A radical method, a forgotten secret, a way to erase debt overnight, not with effort, not with struggle, but with the simple, almost scandalous act of revising the past. Imagine for a moment. The debt never existed. The mistake was never made. The purchase was already paid in full. The loan was forgiven before it was even taken. The mind resists this. It feels impossible. But Neville Goddard teaches otherwise. What you revise in imagination becomes the seed of tomorrow. Tonight, this video will guide the listener step by step. 7 stages, from the prison of debt to the freedom of abundance. By the end, the listener will not only understand the technique of revision, they will have practiced it. They will have rewritten the past. They will begin to walk as a new self, free, unburdened, abundant. And so the question is asked, is the listener ready to let go of the story of failure? Is the listener willing to enter the shocking method that erases debt, not tomorrow, not years from now, but in the very act of imagination itself? The journey begins. Now. The shock of debt. He feels it before he even opens his eyes. A heavy weight pressing on the chest. The memory of debt never leaves. It follows him into the morning. It follows him into the night. Debt is not just numbers on paper. It is shame. It is fear. It is the silent voice whispering, "You are not enough." He remembers the first time it happened. A small bill, a late payment. It seemed harmless, almost invisible, but debt grows like a seed of despair. Each overdue notice adds another layer of fear. Each phone call from a collector burns like fire in the stomach. To the world, debt looks like a financial issue, but in truth, it is an emotional prison. It locks the imagination. It tells a man he cannot dream because he has no right to dream. It tells a woman she cannot breathe freely until the weight is gone. Neville Goddard would say, this prison is an illusion. But before the illusion is shattered, one must see it clearly. Debt steals more than money. It steals identity. It turns a creator into a beggar. It turns an infinite being into someone who counts pennies and fears tomorrow. He feels the humiliation when friends invite him out and he must say no. He feels the anxiety when he swipes his card, not knowing if it will approve. He feels the dread when he lies awake at 3 a.m., replaying mistakes, wondering how it ever reached this point. But here is the shocking truth. The more he thinks of debt, the more debt appears. The more he imagines lack, the more lack becomes his world. It is not the bank that multiplies the chains, it is imagination itself. This is the first realization. Debt is not a financial chain. It is a spiritual pattern. It is imagination, misused. The audience begins to sense it. This means the power that created the prison can also create the key. The same imagination that built the walls can also erase them. Neville calls it revision. And soon, the listener will discover how a single act of inner recreation can dissolve the weight of years. But before moving forward, the listener must confront one final question. Will they keep imagining the chains, or will they dare to imagine freedom? The hidden secret of Neville. Neville Goddard's words often sound impossible at first. He does not say to work harder. He does not say to budget or to sacrifice or to hustle until the body collapses. Instead, he says something outrageous. The outer world is nothing but the reflection of the inner world. This is the hidden secret buried in plain sight. Reality, as people call it, is nothing more than imagination crystallized. Every event, every relationship, every circumstance is the shadow cast by an unseen cause. And that cause is imagination. The listener feels the shock of this. Could it really be true? If imagination creates reality, then every debt, every unpaid bill, every financial struggle is not punishment from the world, but a reflection of what has been sustained within. Neville does not blame. He does not condemn. He reminds the listener, you are not the victim of circumstances. You are the author of them. This is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying, because it means no one else can be blamed. Liberating, because it means no one else is needed to change it. The hidden secret is not in the numbers, not in the bank, not in the economy. The secret lives in the imagination. And the imagination belongs entirely to the listener. Picture this. A man drowning in debt closes his eyes. Instead of replaying the fear, he imagines opening his bank account and seeing abundance. Instead of the shame of unpaid bills, he imagines writing checks with ease, knowing there is always more. And slowly, the outer world begins to bend. Opportunities appear. Debts dissolve. Freedom emerges. The hidden law is simple. What one imagines and feels as real must harden into fact. This is the foundation of Neville's shocking method, and the listener is about to learn how to wield it with precision. But before continuing deeper, pause for a moment. If this secret stirs something inside, if the idea that imagination creates reality awakens even the smallest spark of possibility, then the listener must take one simple action. Subscribe to this channel right now, because each video unlocks more of Neville's wisdom, more of the hidden secrets that few ever hear. And subscribing ensures the listener does not miss the tools that could change their entire life. The secret is unveiled, but a secret is useless unless it is used. Now, the journey moves into the technique itself, the act of revision, the technique of revision. Neville Goddard reveals a tool so powerful it almost sounds unreal. He calls it revision, and its purpose is nothing less than rewriting the past. The listener may pause at this idea. Rewrite the past. How could that be possible? The past seems fixed, unchangeable, written in stone. But Neville reminds us, the only place the past exists is in memory, and memory is imagination. Think of it. The moment has already gone. The only way the listener can touch it again is by recalling it. And when he recalls it, he imagines it. This means the past is not solid, it is fluid. It can be reshaped, reimagined, revised. Neville instructs, take the painful event, take the mistake, the failure, the unpaid bill, the embarrassing moment of lack. Close the eyes, return to that scene, and then change it. He gives an example. A man owes money he cannot pay. He remembers the letter arriving, the red stamp across the page, the shame that followed. But in revision, he does not relive the fear. Instead, he changes the letter. He imagines opening it and seeing a message of clearance. Paid in full. Balance, 0. A weight lifts. A smile appears. The mind resists, saying, but that never happened. And Neville replies, it does not matter. What you imagine with feeling is what becomes. Revision is not daydreaming. It is the deliberate act of rewriting the script of life. And when done with intensity, when done with conviction, the inner story changes, and the outer world follows. The listener can apply this tonight. Think of the moment when debt first appeared. Think of the shame of saying, I cannot pay. Now close the eyes, breathe slowly, and replay it differently. See the bill marked paid. Hear the words, you're clear. Feel the joy of freedom. Repeat it until it feels natural. Until the heart believes it. Until the body relaxes as if it truly happened. This is the seed planted in the subconscious. And every seed must bring forth after its kind. The past may seem untouchable, but Neville declares, the past, too, is imagination. And imagination is always under your command. Revision is the key. And soon the listener will see why debt itself is only a memory, waiting to be rewritten. Debt as a memory. Debt feels heavy. It feels solid, like chains made of iron. But Neville's vision reveals something radical. Debt is not real substance. It is not a force of nature. It is not permanent. Debt is memory, and memory lives only in imagination. Think carefully. The listener looks at a bill. He says, "This is real." But the bill is only paper. Its power comes from the memory of past choices, past purchases, past mistakes. If there were no memory, the paper would mean nothing. Neville insists, what is remembered continues to shape what is lived. A man who constantly remembers failure repeats failure. A woman who replays moments of lack lives in lack again and again. This is the hidden engine of debt. Not the economy, not the bank, but the imagination that sustains the story of owing, of lack, of being trapped. The listener begins to see it. Debt is not an enemy. It is a mirror. It is showing what has been remembered and believed. This means something incredible. If debt is a memory, then changing memory changes debt. The past, when revised, releases its grip on the present. The unpaid bill dissolves, the weight lifts, new opportunities appear as if out of nowhere. But first, the listener must stop rehearsing the chains. He must stop opening the same memory again and again, adding more fear each time. He must dare to open a new memory, one that feels impossible, yet liberating. Imagine this. Instead of recalling the moment of shame when the card declined, the listener recalls swiping it with ease, hearing the gentle approval tone. Instead of remembering rejection, he imagines acceptance. Instead of repeating the story of "I can't," he lives in the memory of "I already have." This is the shift. Debt is no longer an enemy to fight, it is a story to be rewritten. And stories change the moment imagination changes. Pause here. If this truth awakens something deep, if the listener wants to go further and learn how every memory can be reshaped into abundance, type the word "free" in the comments right now. Declare it, write it, because the act of writing is also creation. It begins the new memory. Debt is memory, memory is imagination, and imagination, when claimed, is freedom. The journey now moves into practice, where the listener will be guided, step by step, through the act of erasing debt with revision itself. Guided, practical exercise. The time has come, no more theory, no more listening from a distance. Now the listener will enter the method itself. He is invited to close his eyes, to sit quietly, to breathe slowly. With each breath, the body softens. The tension in the shoulders loosens, the chest opens, the heart slows. This is the doorway. Neville always taught, imagination is the only reality. So now, imagination will be used deliberately. It will no longer replay fear. It will create freedom. The listener is asked to bring one memory into focus. Perhaps it was the day the bill arrived, the red letters across the page. Overdue, past due, final notice. The sting of shame, the sinking in the stomach, the feeling of being trapped. Hold it for a moment. See it clearly, feel what it was like, and now, change it. In the theater of imagination, the letter shifts. The red ink fades. The threatening words vanish. In their place, paid in full. The balance, 0. The burden evaporates. See it as if it is real. Touch the paper with the mind's hand. Feel the smoothness. Notice the relief that floods the chest. Smile, even if only within. Now step further. Imagine telling someone you trust, "It's cleared. I'm free. Everything is paid." Hear their joy. See their eyes light up. Feel the celebration. Stay here. Repeat it. Rehearse it until it feels natural, until the body believes it. This is revision. Not pretending, not wishing, but deliberately rewriting the past, and in doing so, creating a new present. Every time the old memory tries to rise, replace it. Bring back the revised version. Train the mind to accept only this. It is done. It is paid. Neville promised, what is imagined with feeling, repeated until natural, must manifest in the world. The listener has just planted the seed, and seeds never fail to grow. This is the practice. This is the work. Simple, silent, and yet powerful enough to dissolve debt, transform identity, and open the floodgates of abundance. The listener has tasted freedom, and now he is ready to become the self who lives in it daily. Identity of abundance. Neville always returned to one central truth. You are not what you do. You are not what you have. You are only what you imagine yourself to be. Debt tries to convince a person of the opposite. Debt whispers, "You are poor, you are trapped, you are a debtor." And when that identity is accepted, life bends to confirm it. But what happens when identity shifts? When the listener no longer says, "I am in debt," but instead declares, "I am free, I am abundant, I am limitless." This is not positive thinking. It is not mere affirmation. It is identity itself, and identity is the foundation of reality. Imagine this. A man wakes up each morning with the weight of owing money. His shoulders slump. His thoughts circle around what he lacks. The world mirrors back his state: bills, rejection, scarcity. But one night, he dares to revise. He closes his eyes and sees himself as free. He imagines opening his wallet, and instead of emptiness, he sees fullness. He imagines his bank account overflowing. He feels the joy of paying with ease. The next morning, something subtle has changed. He carries himself differently. He stands taller. His eyes shine. And the world begins to respond to this new identity. Unexpected opportunities arrive. Help appears. Solutions reveal themselves. Neville insists the outer world is nothing but the reflection of the inner state. So to erase debt permanently, one must not only revise memories, one must live daily in the identity of abundance. This means speaking differently, not "I can't afford it, but I always have more than enough." This means feeling differently, not fear at the sight of a bill, but gratitude for the flow of money in and out. This means seeing differently, not a future of struggle, but a future already filled with ease. The listener must ask, who am I now? Am I still the debtor, or am I the free one? Am I still trapped, or am I already abundant? Identity is choice. And what is chosen in imagination becomes reality, in fact. Pause here. If the listener has followed this far, if he feels the stirrings of a new identity awakening, he must not keep it silent. Share this video with someone who needs freedom too, because in sharing, the listener strengthens his own new identity. He declares to the world, "I am no longer a debtor, I am abundant." And now with this new self alive, the signs of transformation begin to appear. Signs of transformation. Something begins to shift when a person practices revision and assumes the identity of abundance. At first it feels subtle, almost invisible. But the signs are there. The listener notices a change in emotion. What once brought panic now feels lighter. A bill arrives, and instead of dread, there is calm. Instead of the old story, "I cannot pay this," there is a new inner voice whispering, "This too is already handled." This is the first sign. Peace where fear once lived. Soon, other signs appear. Small opportunities arise. An unexpected discount, a delayed payment forgiven, a gift from a friend, offered without asking. The world begins to rearrange itself to match the new inner state. Neville always said, "Signs follow, they do not precede." This means the listener does not wait for proof before believing. He believes first, and then proof arrives. The second sign is confidence. The listener walks differently. He no longer feels the weight of shame. He no longer hides from calls or avoids opening letters. He carries the quiet assurance that things are already solved in imagination, so they must also be solved in reality. The third sign is vision. Where once the future looked like endless struggle, now it appears open, wide, full of possibility. He begins to imagine freely again. Not just a life without debt, but a life overflowing with freedom, travel, generosity, and joy. The fourth sign is synchronicity. The right book falls into his hands. The right person calls at the right time. A door opens that seemed locked before. Life itself begins to conspire with the new identity. These signs are not coincidence. They are evidence. Evidence that imagination has shifted, and with it, the entire structure of reality. The listener must remember, the signs are gentle at first, like the first buds of spring. But with persistence, they grow into a full harvest. What begins as a small relief becomes full liberation. And so, when these signs appear, the listener knows. The method is working. The chains are breaking. Debt is dissolving. Abundance is already here. The journey is almost complete. The final step is to seal this transformation with reflection, with practice, and with a call to step fully into the new life. The doorway to freedom. The journey has reached its end. 7 chapters, each one a step away from the prison of debt and closer to the freedom of abundance. The listener has faced the shock of debt. He has uncovered Neville's hidden secret. He has learned the technique of revision. He has seen debt for what it truly is, only memory. He has practiced the exercise. He has stepped into a new identity, and he has begun to recognize the signs of transformation. Now, one truth must remain above all. Freedom is not coming. It is already here. Neville taught that imagination creates reality, not tomorrow, not in the future, but now in this very moment. And so the listener must not return to the old story. He must not rehearse debt again. He must not bow to fear or shame. Instead, he must walk as the one who is already free. He must speak as the one who already has more than enough. He must live as the one whose past has been rewritten, whose present is secure, and whose future is limitless. This is the shocking method. Not effort, not struggle, not years of hard labor, but imagination itself, claimed, directed, revised. And so, as this video closes, the listener is left with a choice. He can return to the old identity, or he can remain in the new one. He can repeat the story of debt, or he can live in the story of abundance. Every night, before sleep, he can practice revision. Take one moment of lack and rewrite it. Take one memory of debt and erase it. Do this until it feels real, until it feels natural. And soon, it will not only feel real, it will be real. The chains dissolve, the doors open, the freedom is complete. Now, one final request. Subscribe to this channel right now, because each week, more of Neville's hidden wisdom will be unveiled, and each lesson will carry the listener deeper into freedom, abundance, and the full power of imagination. The past is no longer master. The listener is free. The listener is abundant. The listener has stepped into the shocking method that erases debt forever.